UFC 318 just ended, and I've got some mixed feelings. The undercard was spectacular. The main card had a couple of bangers, but Dustin Poirier, in my mind, was a little bit of a letdown, and not because he didn't win, but because he got his Max Holloway point at the ground moment, and instead of slugging it out to try to steal that fight back and win the BMF belt, he decided to clinch. My name is Angelo. This is We Want Picks, and I'm going to recap and react to every single fight from UFC 318. Before we talk about the fights, let's talk about the bets. I'm going to talk about me. I made money. Angelo made money. Did I make enough to pay my mortgage? No. Am I up money? Yes. Was I up money last week? Yes. Was I up money the week before that? Yes. So I'm on a little bit of a streak here, and I'm happy with it. I'm good with it. I'm up about a half a unit. I had a couple of spectacular bets. I obviously missed a few, but I had a couple of great ones. Let's focus on the positive. I hit the Vinicius Oliveira money line. We had the Patricio Pitbull plus 3.5. I had the Ateba, Gautier, Ryan Spann, Jimmy Crute parlay. That hit at plus 133. And then I parlayed a couple of round overs for plus 105 in the Pitbull Kopylov fight. So I made money. And before some basement dwelling, you have your pronouns in your email signature crybaby wants to point out, but you missed your safety part. That's one bet. Well, that's one bet. Check out the others. I'm up money on the night, and that's the life I'm going to live. Jacob, not quite as lucky. He had a couple of good bets, though. He had his own Vinicius Oliveira money line, an Ateba Gautier first round knockout at plus money. Probably the best value on that card because that was all but a guarantee. And then he had his own over parlay with the Gautier, under parlay with the Gautier Prachnio fight. Bet Sam reverse sweep. Not great for Bet Sam. Overall, Big Ange, 8% ROI. Hey. 8% ROI for me, almost half a unit of net profit. The other boys looking to claw back next week. And next week is UFC Abu Dhabi. That's a solid fight card in its own right. We got 2 fight nights after that. We have UFC 319 after that turn. If you want to check out every single pick, every single bet, every single tool that we have for those fights, all available right now, including the artificial intelligence, which had its own very solid night. WeWantPicks.com. Just click Become a Member at the top. You'll get all 4 of these events instantly with a couple of clicks. Let's talk about these fights. We have 14 fights to break down. This is the first major card in a long time where we went a full couple of weeks with no drops, no cancellations, no issues at weigh-ins, steady Eddie, and the fights were leaning that way. We started with Carli Judice, crispy Carli with the win, and she looked pretty good in this fight. She looked good. We had a fight where Carli's takedown defense was solid. She would push the head, keep her hips away, no nonsense. She was the better striker. We knew she would be the better striker. Nicolle needed to get this fight to the ground to win. And she had a couple of decent entries, a couple of okay scrambles, but didn't quite do what she needed to do. Didn't quite get over that hump to make it happen. But she was tough, and you can see the difference in their faces in this picture here. Carli ended up getting it done with a beautiful shot to the liver and then finished it on top there. Carli looked good. This is 2 fights in a row where she found finishes. She looked fantastic. A ton of people, not me, a ton of people got cooked on the round line over here. The reality is Carli's doing some big things in this division. Very early in her career, only 5-2 still. So hopefully they don't rush her and give her some dumbass matchup to kill that momentum. But striking is great. Takedown defense looks good. In a division like this, that might be all you need. And then we had a fight where it was very obvious there are levels to this. We had Brunno Ferreira taking on Jackson McVey. And the commentary on this fight was funny because the commentary team was like, oh, Jackson's so tall. And look, oh, Jackson's showing Brunno that knee. And if Bruno's going to shoot a take, get the fuck. Brunno had no issues. He didn't come running in like a bat out of hell, but once they did engage, it wasn't even remotely close. They get to the ground. Brunno does what he does. Full control. Ends up finding this armbar. There's levels to this. Brunno was like a, what'd they say, 2-time Brazilian national champion judoka. So Brunno was able to get some stuff done. He had found his own submission. No surprises in this fight. My only concern, the only reason I didn't go absolutely balls deep on this fight is because I was a little worried about what Brunno's cardio could be, but it didn't matter because he absolutely smoked here. He got it done. Jackson McVey doesn't mean he sucks. He just wasn't ready for, 3 weight cuts in a month and a short notice step up. Jackson will get another fight. We'll see what happens. Honestly, he should be on. They don't go backwards, but they should. They should just say, hey, Jackson, we appreciate you stepping up. We paid you like an adult. You got paid like a big boy. We're just going to put you on Contender Series, though, against that guy you were supposed to fight a couple weeks ago that missed weight by 10 pounds. Do that. And then if he wins, bring him back up. He's early in his career. The problem with somebody like Jackson McVey, who stepped up on short notice, good for him. He's in the big show. But he got submitted early. This dude only has 7 professional fights. And now he's in the best organization on planet Earth. He's going to do more harm than good to his career. Go look at Mickey Gall. Mickey Gall was in a similar situation. Young, talented kid. They brought him in. He beat CM Punk. And then it's like, whoa, he beat CM Punk. Oh, okay, hold on. So they started pushing him a little too much, too soon, just never quite got his footing, never had the success that he was supposed to have. So you could absolutely ruin your career by going to the UFC too early. I don't want that to happen to Jackson. So hopefully either it takes a step back or they just slow roll this dude. Bruno Ferreira blew through a young up-and-coming UFC newcomer on short notice. So, it's hard to sit here and be like, oh, Bruno's going to be that guy. But Bruno looked good, did what he does. And then we had Ryan Spann looking good at heavyweight. Ryan Spann engaged in the striking for a little bit, then shoots a takedown. Once he gets to the ground, complete domination and control. And that's what I love about Ryan Spann, because I talked about it all week long. I hit every single one of his stats. At the time, right? Now he has 23 wins. But at the time, he had 22 wins. And I said, of those 22 wins, 16 are by finish. And of those 16, 13 are by submission. Because he's huge, he's fast, he hits hard, and everybody assumes he's knocking people out. But the reality is more submissions than knockouts, and it's not because he's a jiu-jitsu nerd. He just snatches things up. In this fight, he had the wherewithal to say, this dude hits hard. This could get complicated. I'm going to shoot some takedowns. I'm going to shoot a takedown. I'll dominate from there because we are on different levels. And they look like they're on different levels. The heavyweight division needs a little bit of juice. Ryan Spann's 1-1 in the heavyweight division. So I don't know what they're going to do with him next, but I'm looking forward to a couple of fresh matchups in that division. He lost to Waldo Cortez. Waldo's a decent prospect. So let's give Ryan Spann somebody else mid-tier. I mean, he was 1-4 in his last 5, so it's not like he's on a wild streak here. He finally won another fight. But let's give him somebody mid-tier. Let's build him a little bit. Let's build some of these fighters, okay? Because it does nobody any good if it's win, lose, win, lose, win, lose. Lucas cut him. I mean, what are we going to do with that guy? Cut him. He doesn't deserve to be in the UFC. Then we had Jimmy Crute finally found a win. Jimmy Crute coming into this fight was 0-3-2. He had 0 wins since COVID was running rampant through the streets, since stores were closed, since you needed to show a vaccine card in California to eat a sandwich at a restaurant. Jimmy Crute hadn't gotten a win, but he got one here. He ended up getting Marcin Prachnio out to the ground, and once they were on the ground, completely different levels. Didn't matter. So finally, Jimmy Crute finds a win. And that's the problem with Marcin Prachnio. He's got that tricky karate style. He was on his way to landing a bunch of strikes, and then ultimately, once it hit the ground, it wasn't even remotely close. I don't know what you do next with Jimmy, because it's not like he's like, this is his first win in 5 years. 5 years, his first win. So it's like, he finally got a win. Let's just see what else he can do. So let's give him somebody else that also has been struggling as of late. Marcin Prachnio, by no means is he like a bum. You should cut him just yet. Let's give him another fight for your career type matchup. Who at 205 is on an incredibly bad losing streak? Give him that matchup. And then whoever wins stays. The loser gets a new job elsewhere. Then we had pretty straightforward fight with Islam Dulatov. This is exactly what we thought it would be. This guy is a Versace model, and he was so confident that he was going to win this fight that he booked a gig. I believe it's Monday. I believe 2 days from now. I'm filming this middle of the night, Saturday. It's actually technically Sunday. I believe he is on a Versace run model or doing a photo shoot. And this dude knew for a fact he was going to be in a fist fight. He was like, I'm not going to get hit. I don't give a shit. I'll be fine. And turns out he was fine. Adam Fugitt's pretty tough, but Islam hits very hard. It was clear from the first couple exchanges, like, oh my God, this guy hits hard. He defended a couple of sloppy-ass takedowns. Hard to tell how good the takedown defense is just yet, because those were sloppy attempts after he was a little bit rocked. But Islam looked good. He was a big favorite He lived up to the hype. He made it happen. And at this point in the card, we were 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 fights in. I picked all 5 fights correct. So far at this point, all 5 favorites won. And then we moved to the 6th fight and the 6th favorite won because Ateba Gautier smoked Robert Valentin. Wasn't even close. Every punch this dude threw was very, very clearly powerful. Robert Valentin was rocked and in all kinds of trouble after every single exchange. And then he still had the nuts to be like, come on, bring it on, bro. I promise you, they literally had a Homer Simpson game plan. I am not exaggerating. The fact that he was like, come on, I'm telling you, this dude had a Homer Simpson game plan. Meaning, they sat down. They had a strategic plan that was like, hey, you're tough. You could eat his best shots. I want you to eat his best shots and he will get tired. And then we're going to take over in the 2nd and 3rd round. I guarantee it. That's why he was like, come on. Because he didn't call him in and then throw a huge punch or call him in and then duck and shoot. He just called him in and covered up. Like, go ahead, tire yourself out punching me. That's the Homer Simpson game plan. Didn't work out, you dumb asshole. You're 0-3 in the UFC. You got to cut him. You got to cut him. We got to be done. You got to be done with him. Ateba, looking pretty good. Looking pretty good. This dude obviously has absolute cannons for hands. We don't quite know what the grappling is. We don't quite know what he's going to be if a fight goes a full 15 minutes and there's some back and forth. But we do know he will knock people's heads off. And what have I been saying? Let's slow build some of these fighters. Let's build some of these fighters. This dude is at 185 pounds, a weak weight class. This is a weak bullshit weight class. So let's get him a couple more wins. Let's build up this streak. Let's build up this hype. And then do something with him. Let's not waste. Don't just give him a killer. Let's build him up. Ateba looked absolutely fantastic. That dude hits like a freight train. We finally had our first upset of the evening in fight number 7. And I said all week long, Francisco Prado's just too fucking small for this weight class. Every single video I filmed, I said, I hate him at this weight class. He's too fucking small. And there he was. He was too fucking small. Now, I agree with this decision. I thought Nikolay Veretennikov won this fight. If I was a judge, I would have scored it for him. But according to the internet and the loud people in the comments, everybody thought it was a robbery. I don't quite think it was a robbery. There were some empty takedowns. Prado had some empty ground control in the 2nd and the 3rd. And you could have argued, if this was 10 years ago, he probably would have won because of the takedowns and the control. But the reality is Veretennikov on the feet was hitting him hard. In the 1st round, Veretennikov quite literally power bombed him on his head. He was in an armbar, picked him up, slammed him on his head. So Veretennikov was a guy that was trying to win this fight, trying to knock somebody out. Francisco Prado couldn't hang in the striking, wasn't strong enough to bully, got a couple of takedowns, just hung on for dear life. So yeah, I think Veretennikov won this fight. Francisco Prado, you are good. You have talent. You very clearly have a chin. You got some decent takedowns. You got some decent striking. You can be good. Stop being a fat fuck and go back to your actual weight class. You lazy piece of shit. This is your job. This is how you make a living. Don't be a fat loser. Do the running. Do the sit-ups, do the weight cutting, and fight at 155 fucking pounds. You don't belong in this weight class. It was very obvious you didn't belong in this weight class in your last fight, but you did it again. And now here you are, 2 losses in a row because you want to fuck around at welterweight. You're an idiot. You're an idiot. It's stupid. It's not like he was cutting too much weight, got knocked out a couple of times because he's cutting too much, and then he moved up and that. No, it was obvious you were too small in your last fight. You were too small in this fight. What the fuck are you doing? It's pure laziness. It's pure laziness. Veretennikov has a giant hole in his game, and that's the grappling. And Prado was able to exploit it to some extent. The problem is he was too small. He was too small to keep Veretennikov on the ground. He was too small to get every single takedown. He was just too small. Prado's good. He is good. But there are weight classes for a reason, and the jump from 170 to 185 is a big jump. 15 pounds. That's a big jump. Then we had Brendan Allen, Marvin Vettori. This was another close fight. These are the first 2 decisions on the card. This is actually when the card turned. It was finish, 6 fights in a row, and the next 8 decisions. But this was another close fight. There was some good back and forth here. I think the undoing for Marvin Vettori was the cut. He got cut a little early. But what was interesting is Brendan Allen came out, got a takedown, and Marvin Vettori won the grappling exchanges on the ground. Ended up on top, ended up in control, won those exchanges. But he did get cut in one of those exchanges, and Brendan Allen was just able to exploit that a little bit. This was a close fight. I didn't leave this being like, oh, this guy sucks, this guy's good. Like, they both felt like, okay. Neither one of them looked amazing. Neither one of them looked terrible. It just felt, okay. I'm like, all right, yeah, you guys look decent. High-level matchup between 2 high-level dudes. You look decent. So I don't know what we do next with either one of them. Brendan Allen, let's bounce back after a couple losses against some top 5 guys. Marvin Vettori struggling a little bit. Is this his 3rd loss in a row? Certainly his 2nd. So I don't know what we do. Let's give Marvin Vettori, who he's 185 pounds. Let's give him, fuck it. Let's keep Robert Valentin around for one more fight and give him the Marvin Vettori. But I didn't leave this being like, oh, this guy's washed or this guy's amazing. So I think we just give them appropriate matchups. Brendan Allen's got some talent. Out of the 2 of them, if anybody's going to really work their way up to something meaningful, it's going to be Brendan Allen, because I said it all week long. I picked Marvin Vettori. I thought Marvin would have some success here. I knew his head was built out of friggin' fire hydrant material. But I thought I've been saying Marvin hasn't really improved. He's been the same guy for about 4 or 5 years. Picking Marvin was less about, oh, Marvin's good, and more about we've never seen Brendan at his full potential. He shows up, wrestles a little bit, kind of fades, strikes a little bit, kind of fades. And we were on that path, right? He initiated the wrestling, and then Marvin ended up on top. But that little cut on Marvin's head ended up being the difference here. But I don't know quite who we match up Brendan with next, but he's definitely, of the 2, at least has some potential and is improving. And then we have Vinicius Oliveira. All week long. If you go to the website, wewantpicks.com, I list every single one of my picks. Jacob lists his. Artem lists his. Betsam lists his. The artificial intelligence are there. Then we have another tab called Confident Picks. Vinicius Oliveira was right there, and I had him as high confidence. I was positive he was going to win. And I said all week long, I don't know why this line is tightening. I don't know how Vinicius went from minus 180, where I sat in this chair last Sunday, and I said, minus 180, that feels like a gift. That feels like a gift. He should be a 3-1 favorite. Why is he minus 180? Fight night, he was like minus 137. I didn't understand it. We knew he was a dog. We knew he had good takedowns. We knew he had good takedown defense. We knew he had good... why was he tightening against Kyler Phillips? Because Kyler looks a little bit like Jesus? That's why? I didn't understand that line movement. There's fights where I fully understand line movement. I did not understand that line movement. Vinicius was a guy that all week long I was confident in, to the point where I didn't parlay, no bullshit, just a straight up full unit on Vinicius to win, and he looked like that guy. He looked exactly like the guy I thought he would look like. Vinicius looked absolutely fantastic. Kyler didn't look terrible, but he just can't deal with the Vinicius pressure and the Vinicius pace, and Vinicius can do everything. It's not like he's a Trevor Peek. You know Trevor Peek sucks. But Trevor Peek's tough, and he'll get in your face, and he'll grind. But he sucks. Like, his skills aren't very good. But he will get in your face, and he will grind. Vinicius will get in your face and grind, and he has the good individual skills. Vinicius can be something special in this division. He can absolutely be something special in this division. I think we need to go ahead and give Vinicius a top 15 guy. And let's see how good he actually is. This dude beat Ricky Simone, I believe, was top 15 or close at the time. He went ahead, he beat Said Nurmagomedov. Now he just beat Kyler Phillips. Like, this dude has had a tough go of it in the UFC. And he's still performing. I'm excited to see what they do next with Vinicius. I don't care what they do next with Kyler Phillips. And then we had one of the biggest letdowns on the card. What an absolute pussy Daniel Zellhuber is. Straight up. Just straight up pussy. Like, straight up. And before you're like, but he's a fighter. You can't shut up. Fucking pronoun email having nerd. Yeah, I can call him a pussy. That's how sports work. That's how sports work. This is a guy who called out a 40-year-old online, called him out over and over. He called him names. He said horrible things about Michael Johnson. DM'd him, said bad stuff, was publicly engaging, sat there at the press conference. I'm going to knock him out. What'd you do? You fucking stared at him. Michael Johnson was cleaner, faster, better in every single exchange. Every single exchange. Cleaner, faster, better. And Daniel Zellhuber did nothing to help himself. He kept spinning. He loved spinning. It was like a pirouette. After every exchange, boop, boop, pirouette, boop, boop, pirouette. None of them landed, but he kept trying it. And it was just an interesting fight because Daniel Zellhuber's last fight, he looked incredible. And Esteban Ribovics is good. And Daniel Zellhuber looked incredible in that fight. And no, I don't have Tourette's if you're wondering why I'm blinking like fucking crazy. It is 1:20 in the morning, so my eyes are dry as hell. He looked incredible in his last fight. So then to go from that, which is what we have to work on, right? You watch somebody's history. You watch their previous fights. We watch those fights, and yes, he lost his last fight, but he looked incredible. To go from that to this fight, where he did nothing, at no point did he try to win the fight. At no point did he try to steal a round back. He got dropped bad and then did nothing. It makes no sense. Because we watched him in trouble against Ribovics, and he sucked it up, and he was a man about it. In this fight, he just sort of accepted, like, I'm probably going to lose, staring contest. Tough to watch. Tough to watch. Nothing more frustrating than watching somebody not try to win a fight. That's infuriating. Because we're going to get to Kevin Holland and Daniel Rodriguez, and a lot of you are going to say, like, oh, Kevin Holland, typical. No. That dude tried to win that fight, and he fought his ass off. Daniel Zellhuber did not. Daniel Zellhuber was the biggest favorite on this card, and he blew it. He blew it, and he didn't blow it against a young prospect. He blew it against a 40-year-old Michael Johnson, who was face down, wildly unconscious just 2 years ago. Huge disappointment. Michael Johnson, still there. Still there, 155 pounds. He's quite literally fought Khabib. He fought Justin Gaethje. He fought Dustin Poirier. He has fought literally everybody. He's fought everybody, and he's had good success. So Michael Johnson will continue to be like this gatekeeper type role. He's 40. They're not going to rush him to a title. He's on a little bit of a win streak here, but you're going to see the UFC give Michael Johnson prospect after prospect so they can figure out, is this kid any good or not? Or, where are we on this scale? But Daniel Zellhuber, giant letdown. Giant, insanely huge letdown in this fight, especially because he was tremendous. He was younger, bigger, faster, strong. Didn't matter. Got smoked. Then we had Patricio Pitbull with his first UFC win. I'm a little frustrated at myself for this one. Like, Daniel Zellhuber blew it, but I still would have, given the tape study, given the history, I still would have picked Zellhuber, right? This one is tricky because I wanted to pick Pitbull. I wanted to outright pick him, but I just scared myself away. I bought into the narrative that Bellator sucks and he sucks. I bet on Pitbull, so I cashed my bets on him. I made money on him, but I wish I had the nuts to just flat out pick him. So I bet on Pitbull. I did a plus 3.5. I said, you know what? At the very least, this dude's going to win a round. He's a little older at 38, but he's one of the most accomplished fighters that's ever walked the face of the earth. And we saw that here. We saw clean boxing exchanges. We saw great wrestling exchanges. We saw a grizzled veteran that was able to beat a very tough grizzled veteran. He stunned Dan Ige. Dan Ige, known for his durability. Dan Ige was dropped bad. Dan Ige was in a little bit of trouble. Dan Ige was able to survive because he's Dan Ige, but Pitbull looked good in this fight. And Pitbull's in a weird spot because he too, like many others that I've talked about on this card, is old. He's 38 years old. What are you going to do with Dan Ige? Dan Ige's still young, so you got plenty of time to figure out what to do with him. Pitbull, you do not. He's 38, as I mentioned. So we don't have a ton of time with Patricio Pitbull. And he lost his UFC debut, so he hasn't really built any momentum yet. You can't just rush him into some fake title shot that he shouldn't get. So I don't quite know what we do with Pitbull just yet. Maybe we see what happens with the Diego Lopez fight. Let's say Diego Lopez loses that fight. All right, Diego's on a 2-fight skid. Pitbull just got a win. Maybe we match those two up, right? Maybe that's what we'll do there. But I don't know what we're going to do with Dan Ige. Dan Ige's tough. Dan Ige's grizzled. He's gritty. He's grindy. Dan Ige's a guy that you know his fights are going to be exciting. He's never going to fight for a title, but you kind of need these like workhorse type guys. He's like the modern Donald Cerrone. He'll go out there. He'll fight anybody, anytime, anywhere. He'll put on a show. He'll never be a champion, but he's going to win a bunch of good fights. And Dan Ige was wildly respectful coming into this. He said over and over, this is one of the best fighters on the planet. It's just an honor to fight him. So Dan Ige is a great dude. Didn't quite get the win. Pitbull, we got to do something with him quick before he is like way too old to actually do anything here. And then we had an absolute banger. This fight was spectacular. It was an incredible back and forth. It was a ton of fun. We had D-Rod and Kevin Holland. This could have gone either way, honestly. I think the decision was probably correct. And as soon as they said it was unanimous, I'm like, it's going to D-Rod. First round, close. Second round, not as close. Third round, close. And maybe I mixed one of those rounds up. But D-Rod dropped Kevin Holland bad and had him in some trouble. And I was a little bit surprised because Kevin Holland was supposed to be the cleaner, more technical striker here. And he really wasn't. And maybe he was a tiny bit more technical, but the power difference was crazy. Daniel Rodriguez's power was nuts. The biggest issue, the most frustrating part in this fight is Kevin Holland towards the end was taking over. He survived early chaos. He was taking over the fight. He was starting to win. He had D-Rod in a world of trouble. He was this close to finishing D-Rod. Then he started messing with submissions instead of just pounding on him. I thought the ref was going to stop it. I thought the ref was this close to stopping the fight for Kevin Holland. Didn't quite happen. Kevin ended up losing. But this wasn't, oh, typical Kevin. Kevin looks like shit. Can't rely on Kevin. That's not what this was. This was an absolute dog in D-Rod refusing to take a step backwards, just moving forward, staying in Kevin Holland's face, landing big 1-2s, and even when Kevin put D-Rod in a world of hurt, he was able to just suck it up, survive, and continue to fight. He went from almost being finished, quite literally this close to being finished. If you had 10 different referees, 8 of them would have stopped it. 8 of them would have stopped it. D-Rod went from this close to being finished to ending up in mount, raining down strikes on Kevin Holland. This was a phenomenal back and forth. I think it was a great fight. I don't think either one of them lose any real stock here because Kevin Holland went out there, fought his ass off. D-Rod went out there, fought his ass off. I don't know what we do with matchups next because neither one of them have any sort of like real meaningful momentum here. And it is a very tricky weight class. But this was a great fight. I thoroughly enjoyed it. And I'm not going to leave here being like typical Kevin. It wasn't a typical Kevin Holland. This was a worked his ass off, tried to win this fight, Kevin Holland. This was not a laughing, talking, not taking it serious. He took it very serious and just got hit way too hard to win. And then we had the co-main event of the evening. This is another fight. I got tagged on Discord instantly. Instantly. We got 10,000 people in our Discord. And I got tagged a bunch of times immediately after this fight saying Kopylov sucks. I wouldn't quite say that. I wouldn't quite say Kopylov sucks. I would say 2 things. 1, he definitely is a little too hesitant. And 2, Paulo Costa just looked great. What Paulo Costa did a phenomenal job of, he was constantly throwing something. He was always throwing hands. He was always throwing kicks. Even when he was backing up because he was dog tired, breathing with his mouth open, he's throwing kicks up the middle. He's kicking the leg. He's ripping the body of Roman Kopylov. And that was the difference. The sheer volume from Paulo Costa was the difference. The fact that Paulo Costa can be this big and throw that hard at that volume for 15 minutes is incredible. Because it was clear when there were nice, concise exchanges, Roman Kopylov was landing well. Like Roman Kopylov is a very good striker, but there was just too much coming from Paulo Costa. He was lighting up his body. He was lighting up his... It didn't matter if Paulo was moving forward, moving backwards, taking... It didn't matter what Paulo was doing. He was throwing something, and that was a problem. That was messing up Roman Kopylov. So one of Roman's issues, he's way too hesitant. And one of Costa's, positive traits is he's very busy, very active. This was a good fight. It wasn't great necessarily, but it was a good fight, and Paulo looked fantastic. He attempted a few takedowns. They went absolutely nowhere. The striking looked pretty good. I don't think Paulo Costa is quite ready for 5 rounds because he was breathing heavy, but he looked great in a 3-round fight. So Roman Kopylov sort of back to the prelims he goes. But Paulo Costa, we needed this for the division. This is very good for the division that Paulo Costa got this win. He was another guy 1-4 in his last 5. He makes too much money. If he lost this fight, they were going to cut him. And I'm glad they didn't cut him because this division sucks. 185 is not a good division. It is not good. So we need fresh blood. We need people to build meaningful win streaks. We need people to go out there and be exciting. And Paulo Costa just did that. I'm very happy for him. He's a great personality outside of the cage. Inside the cage, he's usually a ton of fun. His last fight wasn't. That's Sean Strickland's fault. Good for Paulo Costa. Roman Kopylov is what it is. Pure striker at this point, and now we know you can break him if you're just super busy. And then we had the main event of the evening. This went exactly how I thought it would, and it's just unfortunate. It's unfortunate because there are 5 fights on a main card. 4 of them were underdogs. 4 of them were underdogs. First fight, underdog won. Second fight, underdog won. Third fight, underdog won. Fourth fight, underdog won. The 5th fight, the only fight we needed the underdog to win. I had no money on this fight whatsoever, but Jacob had Dustin as his lock of the week. We needed it. That's the only favorite that won on the main card was Max Holloway. And boy, were we this close. We almost had the most poetic send-off in the history of this sport. Robbie Lawler was able to retire with a massive uppercut knockout, and Dustin Poirier almost retired with his first and only guillotine win. First round was Max Holloway through and through. Max Holloway dropped Dustin Poirier in that first round probably 3 times. Was cleaner, faster, more powerful striker. It was crazy how much faster, how far ahead Max was. In that first round, it was nuts. He almost finished Dustin a few times. Second round, kind of more of the same, and then Dustin landed a few beautiful strikes. He has Max in a world of hurt. He's landing, he's bombing, and then he jumps freaking guillotine. He jumps guillotine. Max hits his hip, rolls to his belly, so Dustin loses guillotine, doesn't quite get it. The round is over. They move on. From that point forward, Max took back over. And it was an odd showing from Dustin. And I said this, right? My breakdown was Dustin Poirier is a dog. He's a very good fighter. And my concern is that in his retirement fight at home, he's not going to fight a smart fight. And it wasn't quite that. It's not that Dustin didn't fight a smart fight. He attempted basically 0 takedowns whatsoever. So it's not as if he tried to use his well-rounded skills. But what he ended up doing is early he was just not as fast. He was getting lit up. He looked hesitant. Then when he finally landed a couple good strikes on Max, he spent the rest of the fight headhunting. He spent the rest of the fight throwing as hard as he possibly could, trying to rip Max's head off, and that just wasn't going to happen. And what he needed to do and what his corners needed to do was be like, hey, settle down. Settle down. You are not going to find the power. Settle down. You need to throw volume. Dustin just really stopped. He stopped throwing volume. He stopped getting his hands out there, and he stopped throwing. And that's ultimately what lost him this fight. And the most disappointing part of it all, Dustin Poirier is objectively a badass, right? He's objectively a badass. He has been in war after, just go watch the Dan Hooker fight. Go watch the Gage, go watch any, this dude is objectively a badass. He has no problem getting into a war. Just go look at the Islam fight. But for some reason, when given the opportunity to go out like a fucking man, he didn't. He didn't. Max Holloway was looking at the clock. 30 seconds left. He kept looking at the clock like, all right. He kept backing up to stand in the middle, looking at the clock. 12 seconds left. He's like, let's go. Points to the ground. Dustin's like, yeah. Didn't throw shit. Max just did what he does. And then Dustin puts his head down and just reaches over and tries to grab Max and clinch him. Did you just fucking clinch in your retirement fight in an iconic Max point at the ground moment? I have to assume. I know he's not a pussy, right? I know that for a fact. I know Dustin's not a pussy. I know he's not afraid to exchange. So it has nothing to do with any of that. He's not Daniel Zellhuber. What I assume, and I express these concerns, was all the crying, and I'm not saying this to be rude, is all the crying took a straight up toll on his body. I don't know the last time you cried. I'll tell you, the last time I cried was 2 weeks ago when we had to put our dog down. I fucking cried. Like, we put that dog down. That was one of the saddest things I've ever had to do. It was bad. And it is physically exhausting. It is exhausting to be emotional. You don't have to actually lift things and run and do stuff to be completely drained physically from emotions. And I think that's literally what happened here. I think Dustin, who looked fantastic, he was shredded. He looked unbelievable on the scale. He said, I've been sober 100 days. Not that he had a problem, but 100 days, no smoking, no drinking, nothing. And he looked great. But he didn't have that same energy, that same pressure. He didn't have that same chutzpah. I'm not Jewish, but I could say chutzpah. He didn't have that same chutzpah that he normally does. I genuinely think it was all the emotions. He cried in every segment all week long. And I get it. This has to be unbelievably emotional. I fully get it. There's no judgment there. I think that's the problem. I think that was the problem because he didn't look like himself. Max looked great. And honestly, this is better for the division because what the hell would it do for Dustin to get the belt and then retire? It wouldn't do anything. So Max being the BMF champ is good and bad. It's good because the champ's still here. The belt is still in circulation. It's bad because it is stuck with Max. So it's got to be against another 155 pounder. And if I'm looking at who the fuck's it going to be? Who's it going to be? He's not going to get another title shot against Ilya. Maybe you do Max and Justin Gaethje. Maybe. That could be a BMF belt type fight. Max, current champion. Justin Gaethje, former BMF champion. But they already fought each other and Max took the belt. So who's it going to be? And that is the problem. Maybe you give it to Paddy Pimblett. Like, I don't know what you do with the belt. That's the problem with the belt. If Dustin had won, you get a fresh start. You can give it to anybody in any weight class. We can move it from the little guys. Give it to the big guys. We can do anything we want with it. Just like when George retired with the belt. But that's not quite where we are. Max Holloway looked good other than getting dropped. So now we know Max is not indestructible. Ilia Topuria put him out cold. Dustin almost did, not quite. And I hope Dustin has a happy and healthy retirement. I do have a sneaking suspicion we're going to see him back. His wife was clearly pregnant. And if she's not, I'm sorry. Like, oh, fuck. I didn't mean to call you fat. But I have a feeling he's going to get a year or two at home. Get the home life, settle with the kids, just have nothing to do all fucking day. Like, nothing to do. And then he's going to itch and he's going to come back. It's exactly what George Masvidal did. George Masvidal retired around the same age, right? Like, not young, but not old. Not retirement age. He did the exact same thing Dustin did. If I'm not fighting for a title, what's the point? What do you mean, what's the point? This is what you do for a living. This is how you pay your bills, right? This is how you feed your family. Don't you need that money? Turns out George did need the money. He did some boxing, did a couple random things, started a promotion, and now he's unretired coming back to the UFC. I have a feeling Dustin will be on that same path. No knock on him. He's probably retiring a little too early, but I hope not. I hope not. And that's what they said all week long, right? All the fighters were like, he's definitely got some juice left. He can definitely have some good performances, but if you're going to retire, go now while you're healthy and happy. I'm wishing all the best for Dustin. I don't know what we do with Max next. He was always the bridesmaid, never the bride. Not quite true because he was the champion for a little while. At 145, we might have the exact same situation at 155. Beat everybody except the champ. Anyway, he's just going to fight Ilya 9 times like he did Volk. Either way, this card was okay. Started hot, slowed down a little bit. Main event was very, very tense, especially because of that second round. Guys, that's the full recap of this card. If you want to get a jump start on everything, first thing you're going to do is get yourself some free money, $50 for free. Go to WeWantPicks.com/bets. Use any of our affiliate links. Sign up, make a deposit. We send you $50 as a thank you. It's an affiliate link. You're going to use it. They're going to pay me. I'm going to slice off some of that money. I'm going to give it right back to you. Then you can go to the website and become a premium member. We have an app, so everything we do on the website is available in an app. You can find the app in the App Store. Just search We Want Picks. Inside the app and on the website, you'll have full access to the tools, like the Fight Simulator. I made some money this week. I'm up. But if you don't want to tail bets and you want to do your own thing, use the tools. Fight Simulator simulates fights 100,000 times and gives you the outputs. We have a tape index for those of you who like to do your own research. UFC 319 is around the corner if you want to get ahead on the tape study. We have an optimizer that builds not only DraftKings fantasy lineups, but FanDuel fantasy lineups. We have a data analyzer that allows you to stack, add, remove, drop filters on data points for fighters. So you pull up your fighter on your card, it'll immediately bring up their opponent, and then you can go ahead and add filters and deep dive those stats. We have a whole suite of other tools as well, like the line movement tracker that'll give you the opening odds, current odds, win probability, and line movement for every fighter on every card. We have a prop hunter, which is a curated set of data specifically designed to help you find prop bets. And we have a whole bunch of people other than me. We have an artificial intelligence. We got Artem, who's the regional Rain Man. We have Bet Sam, who has had better nights than tonight. Everybody giving you their picks, their bets, their breakdowns. WeWantPicks.com. Click Become a Member. Unlock everything you could ever need. Not just for this card, but heading into the future as well. Guys, thanks for the watch. I appreciate every last one of you. The UFC Abu Dhabi fight card, I already filmed it because I knew I was going to be tired tomorrow. That video will be dropping in the morning.